Steam is an unsafe place for teens and young adults. U.S. Senator warns Gabe Newell of more intense scrutiny from the government if Valve doesn't take action against extremist content. According to the Anti-Defamation League, or ADL for short, Steam has become a hotbed of normalizing hate and violence in the gaming community. Is Steam the biggest threat to American youth since 1940s Germany? Will gamers ever beat the PewDiePie bridge allegations? Is two-time failed businessman, cell phone salesman, and U.S. Senator Mark Warner really just a big stinky poopy butthead who is miserable and hates fun? Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to the Hard Light Network. So we've all been here before, right, guys? You come home after a long day on the grind, and you think, I'm going to boot up Steam to play a few rounds with the boys so I can relax and unwind. But before you realize what's happening, you've been dragged into a world of hateful and violent political extremism. I mean, it happens to the best of us. At least, that's what some people think. According to the Anti-Defamation League, or ADL for short, Steam has become a hotbed of normalizing hate and violence in the gaming community. To tell you the truth, I thought you were more likely to be approached by e-girls with anime profiles offering you free Fortnite skins and Discord Nitro, but it seems like neo-Nazis are the actual problem. With everything going on lately, it really feels like Steam just can't catch a W between the massive lawsuit that they're facing from multiple game devs to the threat of increased government scrutiny if they don't respond to the ADL's accusations. Steam is collecting L's left, right, and center. Of course, we're going to cover these accusations a little more thoroughly, and we're going to talk about the potential consequences for Steam moving forward. But before we get into it, guys, I want to remind you to hit that like button, subscribe so you don't miss out on any content coming up in the future, and also take to the comments down below to let me know what you think about this situation. Also, if you feel so inclined, there is a super thanks option down below for you to go that extra mile. But that being said, let's get right into this article. Today's article, of course, comes to us from our friends over at PC Gamer, who, by the way, have been putting out some incredible bangers here lately. Really appreciate all the content, guys. Anyway, the article is entitled, Steam is an unsafe place for teens and young adults. U.S. Senator warns Gabe Newell of more intense scrutiny from the government if Valve doesn't take action against extremist content. Less than a week after the release of an ADL report accusing Steam of, quote, normalizing hate and extremism in the gaming community, U.S. Senator Mark Warner has sent a letter to Valve boss Gabe Newell asking what the company is doing to combat the rise of extremist content on the platform, and warning of further, quote, scrutiny from the government if Valve doesn't play ball. It has been brought to your attention before that extremist ideologies seem to find a home on Steam, Warner wrote in his letter via The Verge. In 2022, Valve received a Senate letter identifying nearly identical activity on your platform, and yet 2 years later, it appears that Valve has chosen to continue a, quote, hands-off type of approach to content moderation that favors allowing some users to engage in sustained bouts of disturbing and violent rhetoric rather than ensure that all of its users can find a welcoming and safe environment across your platform. The 2022 Senate letter referenced by Warner, written by U.S. Senator Maggie Hassan, said Steam has, quote, a significant presence of users displaying and espousing neo-Nazi, extremist, racial supremacist, misogynistic, and other hateful sentiments, and requested a detailed report on what Valve is doing about it. Warner's letter is quite similar in that regard, acknowledging that Steam does have an online conduct policy and subscriber agreement, but questioning how committed Valve is to actually enforcing it. The letter goes on to state, quote, as Black Friday and the holiday buying season approaches, the American public should know that not only is Steam an unsafe place for teens and young adults to purchase and play online games, but also that, absent a change in Valve's approach to their user moderation and the type of behavior that it welcomes on its platform, Steam is playing a clear role in allowing harmful ideologies to spread and take root among the next generation, Warner wrote. Warner also warned, somewhat ominously, that if Valve does not adopt industry-standard moderation practices, whatever that means, it will, quote, face more intense scrutiny from the federal government for its complicity in allowing hate groups to congregate and engage in activities that undoubtedly puts Americans at risk. There's an aspect of irony to the complaint. Elon Musk turned Twitter into a haven for racism and far-right rhetoric, after all, and he's being rewarded with a high seat in the incoming US government. It's also not clear what the US government could do to force Valve's hand. Quote, hate speech in the US is broadly protected under the First Amendment, and as a privately held company, Valve is not subject to pressure from external shareholders who might not be comfortable with its permissive attitude. At the same time, questions about Valve's content moderation policies have persisted over the years, and it does sometimes seem inclined to let the monkeys run the circus. We've said in the 2018 report on Valve's, quote, hate group problem, that Steam's problem isn't so much the absence of rules as the failure to enforce them. Valve updated Steam's community rules in 2023 with a more detailed breakdown of what is and isn't allowed, but enforcement, or lack thereof, remains an issue. Warner's letter concludes with a series of 10 questions, several of them multi-part, covering broad topics like enforcement practices to more granular stuff including internal definitions of terms, the number of content moderators working at Steam, and what commitments it will make to, quote, ensure that it has meaningfully curbed white supremacist, anti-Semitic, terroristic, Nazi, homophobic, transphobic, misogynistic, and hateful content by November 15th of 2025. The senator has asked for a response by December 13th. I've reached out to Valve for comment and will update if I receive a reply. So you heard it here first, guys. If by 2025 Steam hasn't cracked down on the Hitler Youth organizational meetings, the full force of the US government is going to crack down on them. By 2025, both Daniel Radcliffe and Edward Norton will be playing Sex with Hitler 3D in order to lure out America's most prolific neo-Nazi and white supremacist gang leaders. All jokes aside, this letter screams of moral panic and reads like it was written by an out-of-touch boomer. In the 80s and 90s, video games were turning kids into serial killers. In the early 2000s, they were turning kids into mass shooters. And now, in 2024, they are turning kids into neo-Nazis. To tell you the absolute truth, I feel like the freedom of expression / freedom of speech arguments are unnecessary when we could really just focus on bullying these nerds for trying to take away our fun. I mean, honestly, just look at this guy. This is the guy that's going to bring down the full force of the US government on Steam? Yeah, alright buddy, good luck with that. Besides, the US military has entirely too much money invested in this industry to let this dork do anything to interfere with that. But that's really it, guys. This video is really just meant to show you a little bit of an update on how the violence in video games discussion has evolved over time. And to also kind of give you guys an idea on what stupid little projects that your taxpayer money is going to fund. At the end of the day, what it really seems like to me is that Valve is in a precarious situation, and this guy thought it was a good time to hop in and get his licks in. For whatever reason, he's just opportunistically creating a moral panic in order to incite people who otherwise wouldn't care about Steam in order to, quote, let me check my notes here, protect children from white supremacist groups on Steam. So let me get this straight here. Thousands of 3D sex sims and hentai games, and I sleep. But the ADL says something about white supremacist rhetoric and it's real shit? I don't know, maybe I'm blind to it, but I've honestly never seen one instance of these neo-Nazi, misogynistic, white supremacist hate group discussions on the Steam message boards, but I have actually been approached by hentai profiles offering me Counter-Strike skins. There is literally an entire Gooner subculture on Steam posting furry inflation hentai on the community tab and creating triple D nudie mods for Skyrim, but they're busy looking for the second coming of Hitler. To tell you the honest truth, guys, with senators like this, I have no idea how America hasn't hit the Cyberpunk 2030 American utopia yet. But that is going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who has watched up to this point. Please do me a favor and hit that like button, as well as subscribe so you don't miss out on any content that I've got coming up for you in the future. Also, please dive down to that comment section and let me know what you think. Is Steam the biggest threat to American youth since 1940s Germany? Will gamers ever beat the PewDiePie bridge allegations? Is two-time failed businessman, cell phone salesman, and U.S. Senator Mark Warner really just a big stinky poopy butthead who is miserable and hates fun? I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one, and as always, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like, and until next time, love you guys, safe travels.